Hey everybody, thanks for checking out another crafting and doodling video with me. Today we're going to be doing some really spooky doodling because today is October 1st, and you know what that means. It's Halloween. I know, Halloween is really on October 31st, but when you're a grown-up like me and you don't get to trick-or-treat anymore or do any of that cool stuff, you got to make it stretch. You got to stretch it out. So all month long is Halloween time. So we're going to do some drawing today. We're going to draw some monsters. And I'm going to show you guys how to make up monsters, how easy it is to just sort of use shapes to make up monsters and maybe look at a picture of something else to reference, and how you can, it's really easy to take that as a starting point and just go wild with it. So let's get started with that. Okay, so today we're going to be doing some drawing, and you know, if you've watched some of my drawing videos before, you know that I like to draw sort of kind of like in a messy way. Like, you want to do some drawing, you don't want to get too like married to your drawing, you know. It's okay to start over and make erasings and make mistakes, because you can always, you know, it's really easy to start over. So what we're going to do is we're going to do like I'm going to walk you guys through a little process here of monster drawing. So we've got some pictures we're going to look at for reference. And I think we're going to draw some, you know, some classic monsters, but we'll put a little spin on them. So we're going to look at these pictures for reference. And what we have here is, you guys know what that is, right? That's a bat. So that's what a bat looks like up close with his mouth open and his ears. He looks pretty cute, right? That's not scary. It's not a scary bat, but you look close, you can kind of see what people, how the things about vampires and stuff that people say, you might get how those legends started from the bat. You can see his like his fangs. And just like, you know, when people didn't understand things back then, they made up stories to try and justify things. And that's kind of how we got folklore and how we got monsters and vampires and stuff. So what we're going to do is let's draw a vampire for Halloween, but we're going to look at this bat sort of as an inspiration. So he's not going to be like a person vampire. He's going to be like a bat monster vampire. So let's start. Let's sort of make a face head for this vampire. We're gonna do a sketch with this pencil first. We're gonna sketch out our shapes and then kind of like add some little refining features. And then after that, we're gonna go and we're gonna do a final drawing, these markers. And we'll be really careful with our lines when we switch to the marker. But for now, we're just gonna be loose and fun and just sort of creative with our lines. So let's get started. Let's look at the bat's head. I'm going to draw a sort of like a, it's got kind of like an oval-y triangle face there. And I'm going to draw a little line to kind of help myself. So this line is the front of the bat's face. And this line is where his eyes are. So that's going to be a guide for me later. But now, so we can see where we kind of want to put his ears. Let's put his ears, some big exaggerated triangle ears. Kind of make a little dent right there. Let's give him another one on the other side. And now we've got like a little kind of a frame for a bat face. We got our bat ears. Okay, let's put the nose. I'm just gonna draw like a upside down. Oh, it's not upside down, but kind of like an M, like a big long fat M. Then I'll draw two little circles underneath those for nostrils. And you can see how I made that little guide there. This thing is kind of just drawing itself. Like I know we're going to put his mouth down here underneath his nose. And then you just want to make sure his eyes fit in these little quadrants here. So let's draw an eye over here, big circle, and an eye over here. And then let's give him the top of his mouth. I'm going to make two big like icicle shapes for fangs. Give him his fangs. All right. So this kind of doesn't look so much like our bat, huh? He looks really cartoony, but he looks more like a vampire now, doesn't he? All right. So let's give him maybe a, how do we want to pose our vampire? It's kind of, I like the idea of kind of making him like kind of dumb looking, like a hunchback or like an Igor assistant or something like that. Let's give him sort of like a hunched over body. Trace his body like that. I'm going to make his arm come down, sort of drag on the floor. He's got like a weird claw or something. Not really drawn too well, but that's okay, because this is still our sketch phase. So then he's got this. Oh, he's got bat wings on his arm too. Let's give him some bat wings. Let's draw his other arm over here. And his other wing. And I'm just gonna draw like a little weird little foot thingy. All right, now we've got our vampire sketched. That looks pretty cool, right? But this is just kind of a pencil drawing. So now let's take our Sharpie and we can trace over our lines and we can like add details as we go to sort of make this. Now remember, when you're drawing with your Sharpie or with your ink, whatever kind of tool you want to use to continue your drawing, you can't erase these. So you want to be really careful and decisive with your lines. So you want to take your time and maybe start with the lines that are more kind of clearly defined already. Like the ears, I think, are a good place to start. So let's take his ear. And trace his ear. Now I'm going to make the sort of like inside of his ear. And let's see what the inside of the bat's ear looks like. See, it's got like kind of ridges on the inside. So let's try and copy that. Let's try and copy those lines on the inside of the bat's ear. They go like with the shape of the ear. Kind of like that. That looks more like a bat's ear than a person's ear now. Just to highlight the monstrousness of our vampire here. I'm going to give him a little bit of eyebrow action. Maybe he's got some hair poking up. let's draw his face. Just gonna trace all of my lines from before, and if I see something that I think I could add, like maybe I'll add a little bit of his chin on that side, I'll just go ahead and add it. Let's give him a little shading underneath his ear. And let's draw his nose and his eyes. What do you guys think? I think it's spookier if we leave his eyes blank like that. I think he looks more like a vampire that way. Now let's go like this. Now we can maybe add some fur or other like details, some like jagged lines, a collarbone. Okay, let's do this arm. Let's connect those pieces. Now, see, I can sort of fix my drawing a little bit. I wasn't totally happy with how it came out before down there, but now it looks better. Add a little more, some more details down there. Let's draw his second hand over here. We want it to match up. So I'm going to start from the bottom down here so I can match with the other hand. And goes right up there. Alrighty. I'm going to connect our other wing. And we're almost done here. For this part down here, I'm just going to color this in. Color this in to sort of contrast with the rest of the drawing. When you're drawing with like big shape, like, like black and white like this, you can make your drawings really pop out if you use contrast. It's kind of like what we were talking about in the coloring video, if you guys watched that one. By putting different colors next to each other, that you can make the colors look better and sort of more vibrant. And that works the same way with just old regular black and white. You can make your blacks look more darker by putting them next to a white, or you can make your whites really brighter by just having just a little bit of black there to sort of like accentuate. That's called contrast. So these parts we're just going to color in totally dark so that they contrast with the rest of the drawing. And now you can really tell where his feet are compared to his, with his hunched over pose here. Cool, I like that. I like this vampire. Let's do another one. Oh, can I get some new paper? Let's take another look at a different animal this time. I think this time we're going to draw I'd like to draw like a fish man or like a creature from the Black Lagoon, something like that. So we're going to look at a fish, but I wanted to choose like a crazy wild fish because we don't want to draw a conventional monster. We want to draw a cool, crazy monster that we can go crazy with. So I found this fish. Do you know what the name of this fish is? This is called a lionfish, and they're actually an invasive species in our Gulf of Mexico right now, and in North American areas and oceans. These fish don't belong here in our local environment, and so they're becoming a nuisance to a lot of fishermen and environmentalists. Scientists are saying that they're, hurting our ecosystem and hurting our animals that live in our food chain over here. So if you see one of these fish, you can get rid of it. You can chuck it in the garbage. But they're kind of like a monster in their own right because they're terrorizing our fish. They're predators. They eat other fish. So a lot of people are trying to get rid of these lionfish right now. So let's take some inspiration from the lionfish. See how crazy and monstrous he kind of looks with his mane there. Let's draw a creature from the Black Lagoon, but with the lionfish as our reference point. So let's do that big mouth first. Let's get his big fishy mouth. Let's do like a big open circle kind of thing, and then I'm gonna make it look wide around these top parts, and then sort of taper in my line around the middle here, so it looks like a mouth, like a pair of lips opening from the mouth. And now maybe let's put his head back there. Let's try and just sketch out a circle for his head. So we've got the head and the mouth. Now let's try and sketch his body before we get into all the details. He's making a, what kind of pose is he making? He's making a scary pose, of course. So let's draw a line like this, sort of for his spine. And a line like this, and then we're going to draw just like kind of real easy stick figure legs like that to get us started. And then we can come back, kind of make them more fishy looking. He's got webbed feet, of course. So it kind of looks like he's got like bug legs or like grasshopper legs right now. But remember, this is just our sketch. So got plenty of time to work out these ideas first. Let's put his arm. You know what? Let's do something crazy. We're going to make him, he's going to be like, rawr, like this. So let's think about how those hands look when they're coming from this angle. They look like, rawr, rawr, gonna get ya. So let's draw the front part of the hand. That's kind of a challenge, right? So let's start with a circle for our palm. And then we want to draw those fingers kind of like bending in, right? So let's draw this like bent portion of the finger in front of the palm, and then we can like connect it. I'll show you guys what I mean here. Let's start with the thumb. We'll make a kind of like the top of his thumb there. And I'll draw like a little claw on the tip of his thumb so that we know that that's the top of his thumb. And then we just draw kind of like that benty part connecting back to his palm. Now let's do the other fingers. Kind of just making little like sausage, like hot dog shapes or something to start with. And then you can go back and sort of see how they connect. It just sort of draws itself. Like I said before, you can see how they connect to that palm. And then you can sort of bring that down. This is a perspective thing, right? All right, so that looks like he's like coming at us with his open hand. But let's not get too crazy with our other hand. We can just, we'll just put it, he's like, rah, from the other angle. All right, so the lionfish, okay, we want to, let's put a little line so we can see where his face would go, sort of down the center here. So we want one eye here and one eye here. He's got big, gross fish eyes. Put one on either side. And the lionfish has like all these weird like protrusions and like fins and stuff. So I'm going to draw some of those for like eyebrows for him. And then maybe some more crazy fan stuff, like he's got these wacky phalanges and stuff poking out. And this is where you can really go fun. You can just sort of go crazy with this stuff. Because there's no rules when it comes to your imagination. You can, once you get to this part, you know, this is the fun part of drawing. All right, that looks like a good sketch to go off of, right? For our fish man. So let's get our marker. Well, let's make him, we'll make this guy blue because he's a fish man. Oh, you know what we forgot to do? His teeth and stuff. I know this fish can't really see the lionfish's teeth. They're really small, but this is a monster, right? So we got to give him big teeth. So let's sort of make like a mouth for his throat there. And we'll know that area is the throat. So we don't want to cover that up totally. But now we can put all kinds of sharp teeth for our fish man. Rawr, rawr, rawr. You can hear him snapping these teeth at you. All right, that's better. Let's start where we started before with that mouth and those teeth. So let's do the well, it looks kind of confusing down here, huh? We have some overlapping lines. So let's start right there actually, and then we can work our way up from there. So we want to draw his chin first. So he's got maybe some protrusions on his chin. Remember, we can like color in with black as we go since we know what to do. Maybe make some protrusions in the back of him. All right, now let's draw that mouth line. Like the top of his mouth and his jaws. Now we know where to put our teeth. So we can start tracing our teeth. Now that we've got our teeth in front, we can draw all that stuff in the back, like all of his throat lines, and we'll make a sort of a line for his tongue, sort of sitting back there. And then we'll color this part in. So it looks like he's got his mouth all the way open. You can see his throat. Brrr. All right. Now let's go back up here, connect all these parts up to our eyeballs. Let's draw. I think we can give this guy eyeballs because we'll give him those weird like fish eyes. Oh, what was that? A marker? Let's use the purple marker again. And give him some of those big bulbous fish eyes. Yeah, that's the kind of eye that a fish man would have. So I'm like drawing a circle here, but I'm leaving room. I'm sort of like implying that there are white circles, like, you know, like little shines in his eyes. I'm doing that by just making a round shape there. See, like I didn't sketch it out ahead of time. I just kind of used the contrast between the dark and the white in between there. And now it looks like he's got shiny eyes. So that's how you can use contrast one way. And now we've got a good idea where to start with drawing all of these little phalanges and floppy parts. I'm just going to kind of color them in as we go. So when I'm coloring in, when I'm like darkening it in all the way, it implies that it's like in the background because it's like shaded. So you can use that to make contrast in your drawings and to help define the different parts of your drawing. See, like this one is shaded, but this one is going to be in the foreground. So we're not gonna color that one in. But we will color a few of these guys over here. Some of these. See, this one kind of overlaps with these other two, so let's color him. Color him in to make it look like in the back. You always think about the foreground, the stuff in the front, and the background, the stuff in the back. That'll help you give your drawings dimension. All right. Done with this part. Now let's move down here. Draw his like chest and his right arm. And I'm just going to add some like little detail lines and stuff, like scale lines as I go. All right, now let's do our big hand, and you always want to start with your foreground elements so that you don't end up drawing over one of your background lines that you need. Or, well, sometimes, you make a background line and you make it prematurely because that's where the foreground line has to go. All right. So we've got our fish man here. Oh, you know what a fish man needs? He needs gills, like a fish. There we go. Now he's a real fish man. And yeah, I'm just kind of making the rest of him up as we go here because he's just all like frills and spikes and stuff. So this is where you can really just add. Once you've got a nice outline underneath, you can add all kinds of stuff to the top. You know, like we didn't draw all that stuff the first time, but because we didn't really need to. Just got to draw the important stuff first. All right. Awesome. Here's our fish man. Does he look like the lionfish? I think so. Or maybe he kind of looks like a seaweed creature also. Could probably confuse a lionfish for seaweed, huh? Here's our vampire. That's a good stopping point. All right, guys, I hope you had fun drawing along with me, and I'd love to see some of the monsters you guys came up with. And remember, you can find a lot of inspiration by just looking at nature or the world around you, because that's where monsters come from. Monsters just sort of come from, you know, the figments of our imagination, like, oh, what was that sound? Stuff you can't explain, but, you know, like I had this picture of a wolf. He's really scary, right? But we know that wolves aren't scary. They're just predatory animals. But back then in the day, long ago, they were a lot scarier because people didn't really understand them the way we do now. So that's kind of where monsters come from and where the idea of monsters comes from. So if you have a cool idea for a monster, you can take that, sort of use it as a kernel to inspire your drawings and make them look, you know, like when you think of a vampire, do you think of a bat? Or when you think of a fish man, do you think of this fish necessarily? You can draw like a really unique, cool looking monster if you just sort of look around you and look for reference and inspiration elsewhere. So let us know if you guys are doing that, and if you guys have some cool drawings that you want to share them with us, and we'll put them up online for everybody to see. We'll see you guys next time.